Okay, let's get into it. We're diving deep into the 2025 Alberta Teachers Strike today.
Yeah, and this one, it really went beyond the usual contract talks, didn't it? It blew up into a full-on constitutional crisis.
Exactly. So our mission here is to sort of unpack the core values that clash, the government pushing for order, for stability right now.
Versus the teachers who felt they had this, well, this moral duty, really, to protect the quality of education itself.
And the scale was huge. We're talking 51,000 educators walking off the job.
For over 3 weeks, that's a massive disruption. And it wasn't just about wages, not at its core anyway.
No, the real catalyst, according to our sources, was this feeling of systemic underfunding.
That's the term you hear again and again. By 2025, Alberta's per-student spending had actually dropped to $13,494.
Just think about that $13,494 per student. That put Alberta dead last in Canada for educational investment per kid.
And that financial squeeze, well, it created the reality teachers were facing every day. They were demanding fixes for things like absolutely overcrowded classrooms.
We're talking numbers consistently in the mid-30s, sometimes even pushing into the 40s. That's what the sources detail.
And alongside that, this issue of classroom complexity, basically not enough specialized support for kids with diverse needs, just not enough resources to go around.
So the bargaining,
Yeah.
it completely fell apart, didn't it? There was a tentative agreement.
Right, the leadership agreed to it, but the members, they overwhelmingly rejected it. Like 89.5% voted no.
So what was the sticking point? If leadership thought it was okay, why such massive pushback from the teachers themselves?
It came down to a lack of concrete enforceable solutions for those classroom conditions. The deal had a 12% wage bump, some hiring promises.
Okay.
But for the overcrowding and complexity, just a class size and complexity task force.
Another committee.
Exactly. Teachers wanted actual class size caps written into the contract, something tangible, not just, more discussion. They felt completely unheard.
So the strike happens.
Yeah.
And the government's response, Bill 2, the Back to School Act, fast-tracked.
Yeah, pushed through on October 28th, 2025. And it basically just imposed the exact same 4-year deal the teachers had just voted down.
So the 12% wage increase, the promise to hire 3,000 teachers and 1,500 EAs over 3 years, that was all in there.
All in there. They offered those terms, yes, but they forced acceptance through legislation. No more negotiation.
But the really big move, the one with long-term implications, wasn't just ending the strike itself.
Right. It was that the act suspended all local bargaining for the entire 4 years. Negotiations at the school board level, gone.
That's a huge shift of power to the provincial level, centralizing control.
Absolutely. And that immediately raised the question, how do you make sure this law actually sticks? How do you prevent a court challenge?
Which brings us to the Notwithstanding Clause, Section 33 of the Charter.
The government invoked it preemptively to shield Bill 2 from constitutional challenges before they could even happen.
So for anyone listening who doesn't deal with this every day, the Notwithstanding Clause lets the government pass a law that overrides certain fundamental rights guaranteed in the Charter.
For a temporary period, yeah. In this case, they specifically used it to override the right to strike.
The Supreme Court of Canada actually affirmed back in 2015.
Correct. The government said they had an undeniable moral imperative, their words, to restore stability for 700,000 students. End the disruption.
But the teachers' argument was completely different. They said the government chose to suspend a fundamental right rather than actually fix the chronic underfunding.
They framed it as prioritizing short-term order over addressing the long-term damage to the education system, a democratic right versus fixing a systemic problem.
And this move didn't just affect teachers, it really lit a fire under the broader labor movement.
It did. You saw the quick formation of the Common Front, this coalition of, 30 unions, representing over 350,000 workers across the province.
And they were seriously talking about a province-wide general strike in response.
They were. Now, the teachers did go back to work on October 29th. They had to under the law.
But it wasn't exactly business as usual. The ATA, the Teachers Association, put out a message urging members to reevaluate how they're spending their voluntary time at school.
Which is code, really, for a shift towards work to rule.
Meaning,
teachers do exactly what their contract requires and nothing more. No volunteering for extracurriculars, no extra help, none of that goodwill stuff. It really changes the school environment.
So looking back, what's the takeaway here? This 2025 strike, it seems like it set a really confrontational new precedent, doesn't it?
It absolutely did. It sort of normalized using the Notwithstanding Clause as a tool to manage public sector labor disputes. turning contract talks into these high-stakes constitutional battles.
And that leaves us with a pretty unsettling question, the one critics keep raising.
Yeah. If the government can use the clause to override teachers' rights today because it's disruptive, what stops them from doing it to nurses or firefighters or any other public sector group tomorrow? Where does that end?